got it. I can go grab us a phone.
Let me get everybody in here. I'll start. Whatever you
Mark Rober and the Arbor Day Foundation to plant 20 million trees.
Even if you can't calculate the bottom line impact of doing so. And if you do that, profits will come naturally.
At this point, can I ask the panelists to join us up here? Definitely. So I am Suzanne Fitzgerald, and Allison Novak is the one that was in the back there running the show, and we are the co-teachers of this particular course. So I failed to introduce myself. Then I'm going to introduce our panelists here. We have with us, Erin, I would say last name. Wojno. Erin Wojno is with us. She is the Assistant Manager of Donor Relations for the Spirit of Children, bringing a decade of experience with special events, community awareness, nonprofit development. She's also, we're really proud of her for being a Rowan alum, and we welcome her here today. Next to her is Dr. Joseph Basso. He is a professor in our Public Relations and Advertising department, but he is also a lawyer, and in this particular case is representing a union. He is the union president, so he is not only representing the union, but he is the president, so for that reason. We've also asked Richard Johnson to join us. Richard Johnson is a CRS specialist. He's had a 19-year career in human resource management. He was previously the director of talent acquisition for a Fortune 50 healthcare company. And he joined Rowan in its College of Business in 2019, and he's now working on, his research is working on workplace community, strategic HR management, and business for the common good, which we like to call corporate social responsibility. Next to him is Sherry Hicks. Sherry's a professor in our PR and advertising department.
clearly other people think differently. Not entirely differently, but they will say that, well, the responsibility of a corporation is to make money, but to do so in such a way that it benefits people and to act ethically. Then we get into the whole idea of defining what ethics is. Some people will say ethics is what produces the greatest good for the greatest number. I kind of define it as what you do when no one's looking over your shoulder. But that is the kind of semantic quagmire we weigh into, but it has a very real bottom line application here. What is the social responsibility of a corporation? Now, not to get involved in acronyms, but just to make sure that we're talking about the same thing, you have CSR, corporate social responsibility. We also have something called ESG, which environmental, social, and governmental, which is slightly related. That is a measure that's used to gauge certain attributes of a company. It's used to guide investing. That's not what we're talking about tonight, but it's unavoidable that it will come up. So the best I can do is say that we usually, when we talk about corporate responsibility, that's sort of an internal thing within a company. ESG is a standard that has been set for investors investing in a company, and we'll basically leave it at that. Many people will say that there's something called greenwashing involved in corporate responsibility, where companies will seek to use it as a marketing ploy. I stayed at a hotel a couple weeks ago, probably where I got this cold, I said, wait a minute, my towels are still wet. They said, oh, we don't do towels anymore. We're saving water. I'm thinking, I don't believe that. Come on. I wonder how many people really do believe that. But, you know, in a certain type of atmosphere, a lot of people may look at that as a marketing ploy. Okay, they're trying to save money, and they're saying, well, we're doing it for the good environment. They can use the same moldy towel for 3 months. So, where did it come from? I've done a little bit of research about corporate responsibility, and it's impossible to trace where it began. But there is a company that I kind of admire. It's called Marks and Spencer. I like them because the British and they make great suits, and like this one. And in 1923, Marks and Spencer, they had a policy where their management would have to walk the floor every day, every member of management. And one member of management came down and saw a saleswoman who just pitched over, fell on the floor. When they revived her, he said, well, what happened? She said, well, my husband lost my job, and in order to feed my family, I'm not eating. So this was in 1932, and he said, well, wait a minute, we've got to do something about this. So they set up affordable or sometimes free cafeterias within Marks and Spencer, and that's been a hallmark of the company since that time. Merck, a couple years later, gave away the rights to penicillin. It probably could have made an awful lot of money on a patented drug that would save lives, but it said for the greater good, we will just give up the rights to this for everyone to use. And during World War II, there were many companies who were making a great profit with their industrial clients, put everything on hold and gave carte blanche to the government when it came in and said, okay, you're going to shut down everything you do and take over the war effort. So that was, you know, maybe from our perspective in terms of the United States, in England, the first examples of things that showed up on mass media radar. I'm not saying the first example of corporate responsibility. But we have a lot of different definitions and a lot of measurements about that. Have you ever heard of something called carbon offsets? Carbon offset is something that if you're interested in your ethical standing, you can buy a carbon offset. By buying a carbon offset, you spend a little bit of money, or a lot of money. I don't even know how much one. Anybody know how much one costs? for your own lack of reducing your carbon emissions, which to me sounds like kind of an indulgence sold by the church. I mean, really, as a Lutheran, we got ticked about that in 1512. And, you know, in case you're wondering, I've got 58 other theses I can nail to your door. But that is one of the ethical questions that has come up about corporate responsibility and ESG. Now, on one hand, you're funding projects elsewhere. On the other hand, these are long-term investments, and we're not really sure how well they pay off at present. And if you're an octopus, on your third hand, you have the question: is this something that's morally right to do? So we have this basic question of definitions, which is where I'd like to begin. And I just like to do it the easy way and pose this question, and I'll just run down the line and say, what is your definition of corporate responsibility? A practical definition that people could actually act upon. So, ma'am, could we begin with you and then just work our way down?
Yeah. In my experience with this, I would say it's giving back to the community. The company I work for specifically, we ask our employees, associates to volunteer. We have lots of volunteer events that we offer for our staff, whether it's going to a park to do a park cleanup. Recently, we went to the Upseekin Lighthouse to clean that up. We planted some fresh plants for them. Any capacity really that we can do with our employees, just to give back and make our local community better and improve in many different aspects.
I guess my struggle is with the word responsibility, and I'm not sure it's a responsibility of a corporation to do all these things. I think it's a responsibility of a corporation to create good jobs, to treat its employees fairly, and then to a larger extent, to do the right thing in society, cleanups, whatever that would be, because the marketplace is going to dictate that. Because if I don't like what you do, then I'm going to go to someone else and buy your product, service, ideas, whatever. So the responsibility is to do right by employees, to provide good wages, to provide good working conditions, and then provide opportunities for the corporation to do good things.
So I'll build on what you're saying.
Okay.
I hear a little bit of Milton Friedman in there, but not totally there.
Yeah.
So I would define it as contributing to human flourishing, and contributing to human flourishing both inside the company, so in terms of employee, but also outside the company. So that means making or delivering a product or service that makes the world a better place, and doing it in a way that helps employees to flourish as well.
And I'll build upon that. My definition is giving back either through social or environmental areas and doing good, whether that's fostering goodwill internally or externally. Internally with your employees and your other stakeholders like suppliers,
Trulana because I'm lactose intolerant? I don't care. But Ben and Jerry's, when they were sold to Unilever, and it was a couple decades ago, but Ben and Jerry's at the time had a price to earnings ratio of, let me start at the beginning. Ben and Jerry's had always committed to donating 7.5% of its profits to causes. Ben and Jerry's had a price to earnings ratio of 7.5%. The price to earnings ratio of other competitors in the ice cream business was about 47%. So, two things, I can't do the math. Number two, I have no idea what a price to earnings ratio is, but thank God we have an economist. So, if I could put that question to you, how does that fit into the whole grand scheme of things? Where do you find this balance?
Yeah, so price to earnings ratio is essentially how much money, to boil it down quite simply, is how much money do you need to pay to purchase the asset versus how much money you plan on earning from that asset. And Ben & Jerry's had a really anomalous PE ratio because investors can see the value in appealing to the socially responsible consumer. But when when a company's mission kind of focuses on that social responsibility, the shareholders are going to get nervous because they want to see a return on that money, and so it's kind of two sides of the same coin there. And Ben and Jerry's, though, they have maintained a really good reputation among consumers. If I were to ask any of my friends what they think about Ben and Jerry's, they'd say that's a good company. And so that strategy of appealing to that type of customer has definitely paid off well for them. And so I like Ben and Jerry's because that's kind of a shining example of how CSR can turn a great profit.
Anybody else have a comment on that, sir?
Yeah. There are a number of good examples. Another one that's not related to food is Interface Corporation. You may have heard of Interface. They're headquartered down in Georgia. They sell carpet tiles. This stuff on the floor here may be an Interface product, not sure. But back in the 1990s, they decided they were going to be sustainable and, in fact, get to a place where they were giving back and repairing the environment. They didn't know how they were going to do that. Carpets, unless you're shearing sheep and making them of wool, they're made of synthetics, and that means it's drawn from oil. And of course, they use fossil fuels to fuel their plants as well. Today, they actually are net zero company, meaning they don't have emissions. They are recycling all of they use recycled materials and all the products, and all that had to be created as they went along. Investors were super nervous at the beginning, but they pitched this to their investors. It's always been a publicly held company as, look, this is actually, there's a market for this, so we're going to be profitable, and along the way, we're going to get much more efficient. And that indeed is what happened. And they're doing well. Like any other business, they have ups and downs, but they continue to do well. So there are tremendous examples of how it can be done, but it is a lot of hard work. It isn't something that happens overnight.
Whose ethics? I used to get a question sometimes when I talk about ethics. People would say, well, whose ethics are you talking about? And I would have a pat answer to that, and I said, it's like saying, whose gravity are you talking about? Because ethics is ethics, gravity is gravity. But of course, I was spouting BS, which has been my career, but because there's clearly a lot of relativism in it. And my question is, well, whose ethics are we following? Let's follow up on Ben and Jerry's for a second. Ben of Ben and Jerry's is protesting U.S. aid to Ukraine. Now, when I go to buy an ice cream cone, assuming that I would, which I wouldn't, do I have to give a questionnaire to the person that I'm asking it from? So my question is, who decides? Professor Basso?
First, I really like Ben and Jerry's only because of Cherry Garcia ice cream. So.
So I've represented both sides sartorially here.
Right, exactly. I think that's, I guess I need to kind of explain myself of who I am very quickly, because I am the greatest study in contrast in the history of the planet. I drive people crazy. I am the president of a local union, and I'm probably the only, as Dr. Hushman here says, the only president who's a conservative. So, and I do the job because I truly believe in what we do and defending people. So that said, I look at a business. I don't like Ben and Jerry's jumping into the political realm and making me feel like I have to agree with their point of view or I'm bad. When I like their products, I like what they do for people. I like the way they run their business. But on the same token, it's troubling to me, and I deal with that cognitive dissonance where it's okay. I want to support you, but this is troubling to me. I believe corporations have an ethical, moral duty to do the right thing, but if they don't, the marketplace is going to dictate, and then they can go under, and somebody can come in and do better. So my philosophy on that is it's just basically it's simple. People have their views, and that's why voting booths have curtains on them. Because your views are your views. I get into this all the time with people with the union and in the various other things that I do. And I respect and I like debate, but I don't like to be forced, and I don't like to be made to feel that because I don't support certain causes that therefore I'm bad and you're good. And that's sort of where I'm at. So I don't think we're far apart in terms of what we believe is the right thing. The corporations have a right to do the right thing. I don't like it mandated and dictated because I think the consumer is the one is ultimately in control.
Do consumers, do you think, I'll come down to this end here, does that pose a risk, I mean, of elevating yourself and saying you're a socially conscious corporation and then having something happen? Now, Ben and Jerry's was, the New York Times claimed in 2003, Ben and Jerry's employed full-time migrant children laborers. And I knew that would be provocative, but here's the article. I'm going to leave it here just in case somebody accuses me of making it up. So, and then the Ben and Jerry's spokesperson said, well, but we will supervise the plants very well where we have the migrant children working to process the milk. So I don't know really how that hurt them or if it did, but I wonder if it should. And I bet it did make them more of a target. So I wonder what, from your perspective as a researcher on this, does this, if you advertise yourself as a socially responsible company, are you putting yourself out there at some risk?
Sure. I think it also depends on if it's performative or real CSR. So Ben and Jerry's, I don't know if one misstep annihilates everything else that they do, right? After that point, that they have made amends, they have worked hard to rebuild the trust of the consumer, and they keep charging away. I think that the largest issue is when a company says they do all of these things, and they might do some of these things on the surface, right? So we'll use Coca-Cola as an example. It was in the research packet, right? And so Coca-Cola has this huge initiative right now in India to make sure people have access to water, so they don't have to walk really far to get water. Coca-Cola is on the Human Rights Watch for huge human rights violations for water in Mexico, where they over-pumped all of the local water, and they provide free Coke to the community, which then causes large-scale health issues. So there's higher risk of diabetes, right? If you're drinking a sugary Coke versus water,
is a human right, which according to the UN is too, it's this really contradictory kind of thing. So it's hard to overcome the idea of all of their good CSR in India when they have so many other things. And so I think historically they have a lot of issues that they haven't worked towards addressing, unlike Ben and Jerry's, where everything they do, their dollar is going to fix some of these issues. So I think that there's this different context.
Well, Morgan, you're a PR consultant for major corporations, so I think you could give us the definitive word on this. Maybe not.
She laughed.
Can you reiterate your question? Sorry.
Sounds like a murder defense. What do you think about what you just said?
Real CSR performative.
I feel like it depends. Like you said, it does depend because many companies do have stuff that they do that are very bad, and they have people that are in the PR position, my position, that cover it up and like to cover it up and highlight it with good stuff. Like they like to highlight that they're giving back to a local charity or they're visiting kids in the hospital. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just iffy.
For the record, Morgan was one of my students, and I taught her what I learned my first grade in law school. The professor told me that whenever he asks a question, your response is, it depends. Yes. Good job, Morgan.
You learn from the best. Joe is my lawyer.
That's right.
You notice no handcuffs? This man is a miracle of the modern legal system and totally inflammable. Remember the time you called me on your way to a trial, asked me where the courthouse was?
That's right.
I said, where are you, Joe? And he said, no, I'm up on this corner. I said, I think you're about 5 minutes away. When's it start? He said, about 6 minutes. And he said, I got plenty of time. So, that's the kind of guy you wanted. So let me ask another question that runs down this way. We'll just start again. Bouncing off what was just said. Do you run the risk of looking inauthentic? And my example that I gave was the towels in the hotels. If you work for a hotel, if you like hotels, don't get mad at me, but that's just one thing I hear all the time. So my question is, do you think that trumpeting your social responsibility kind of makes you look like you're just on another page of the advertising playbook? If I could start with you and work our way down.
So I work for the company Spirit and Spencer's. And again, before I started working there, I had no idea all that they did for the community. Prior to working there, I worked at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia for 7 years in their child life department. And while I was there, Spirit Halloween would come to the hospital and they would donate costumes and put on these events. That's kind of where I got the idea of what Spirit did, giving back. And then I got into fundraising for the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which is a nonprofit. And then when I saw that Spirit was hiring, I was a little intrigued. I wanted to know more about the position that they had. And it really is amazing how humbling the company is. I'm proud to say that this year they have raised over $18 million in the past 19 years for the Department of Child Life across 142 hospitals. And each time we hit a milestone, I was like, I want to toot our own horn. I think we should put it out there. We should have our PR team. And they were like, nope. The CEO is very humble with everything that he wants known. Even our Department of Donor Relations, nothing's really advertised. It's just within the company. We like to praise each other. We like to know everything that's done. But I would never know that the company Spirit Halloween, Spirit Christmas, and Spencer's Gifts gave so much back to the community, and that really makes me proud to work there because it just is a very humbling, like very great experience to have with them.
Okay, thank you. Joe.
So again, my weird career. I started my career working in the casino industry. I worked there for about 10 years. I sold gambling. I promoted it. That's what I did. And the casino industry, especially during this period, late 80s and the 90s, was vilified. They loved their money but hated their presence in Atlantic City. And I learned a lot about the corporate social responsibility. First, they're mandated to give, I think it's 7.5% of their profits come off the top before any taxes. That goes into the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority, which builds, took care of senior programs, low-income housing in the city. And but the casino industry also was very philanthropic in things that it did in the community, supporting food banks, providing, educational opportunities. And, in many cases, it did it without, Trump, sounding the trumpet and say, aren't we so wonderful? It did so because it was part of the community. And I think we learned our lesson from, the turn of the century with the robber barons, and how we've changed, and people the power of people to recognize that, hey, if I don't like you just making profit if you're doing bad, but I don't object to you making profit if you're doing good or you're treating people fairly and you're doing the right thing in society. So, I think most businesses are smart enough to do the right thing. But when the right thing is dictated and mandated, that's where I have a problem. Because I don't, that government intervention or being forced into doing things is not the way to do it. If they do so because they recognize the importance of it, that's a responsible organization.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So does, Carl, I think your question was, does advertising and promoting your CSR efforts, that put the company at risk?
Yes, could it make you appear inauthentic?
Could it make you appear inauthentic? So I think the short answer is yes, depending on if it's performative or if there's substance there. The flip side of that, or another way to look at that, is that some companies in some part of the world indeed regulations that require, disclosure of metrics related to how you're serving society and how you're trying to improve the climate and other related environmental impacts, particularly companies that are headquartered in the EU, European Union, or doing business over there. And of course, there's a lot of American companies that do. And so we don't have those kinds of stringent requirements here in the United States. So it's for those companies that do that kind of disclosure, they're kind of out there, and they don't have a choice for whether they can make those kinds of decisions or not. And it does create complications, and indeed those kinds of what's the phrase about statistics? You can
Statistics are like bikinis. What they reveal is enticing, what they cover is vital.
Okay, I might have chosen a different thing. But there you go. Thank you. I need to be economist.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can use the recording.
I like his definition. I wrote a book on statistics and put that on the cover. That was the only part that anybody read.
At any rate, so that reporting, if it's done well and it's not performative, can certainly build a company's reputation, but it can also be difficult.
Yes.
My background is nonprofit organizations, everywhere from a small adoption agency to the largest public health association in the world in Washington, D.C., the American Public Health Association. And I will tell you that it is often performative. In 2020, I was director of marketing communications work of abundance, and at a time, just as today, food insecurity was rampant. Everyone was in
we've opened up a new office 15 miles away. Literally, that's what it said. So, very good point, yes.
Okay, so coming as a consumer, and I feel like most of my classmates, like, we're all Gen Z, so coming from a Gen Z consumer mindset, I feel like the obvious answer is that yes, if you're pushing all of your efforts down my throat, I'm going to think that you're lying to me. But honestly, gonna take a note from Dr. Basso, it depends. I feel like everybody has their own personal biases, and like how we were talking about historical impact. If you are someone who knows a little bit more about a certain company who then maybe develops a personal bias, and now a few years later the company's like, okay, but no, like we're doing good. If I still personally don't like that company, I'm not gonna care what you're doing for the betterment of life. I'm still not gonna wanna gravitate towards your product. And then again, just as somebody who is Gen Z, I feel like we all know, like most of my Gen Z people in the room, is that if you're a corporation who is known to not be, I don't know how to word it, but if you're a corporation who we already know is, I guess, a bad corporation or somebody that doesn't align with our beliefs, like, we will slander you. Like, that's why, we do things such as, like, oh, we're going on strike, or we're not buying from Starbucks, or we're not going to Target, after Target cut off their DEI initiatives. But then there are people who are like, no, but I love Target, and, you guys lined up for Black Friday to get, like, that little goodie bag that they had. But it all, like, it depends on who you are as a consumer. Me personally, as somebody who has their own personal bias, I feel like how you were saying with the sign, like crossing it out, like even though we're college students and like even though we're just 18, like when people are lying to you, and I feel like Gen Z has a really good eye for knowing when people are lying to them, because that's just who we are as a generation.
I think that's important, because you are consumers and your dollar goes where it needs to. But it all does align to what you feel is morally correct enough, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times with brands, with being inauthentic, it's kind of like the loudest voice in the room always, the one that talks over everybody, the one that always has a story to tell, the one that is always talking about all of the good that they do. Most of us see through the BS, right? The one that is telling me how great they are tends to be the one that's not the greatest. And so I think brands are the same way. We'll see the ones, like you said, like with the Pride Flag, right? The ones that jump on every single socially conscious thing throughout the year. The car companies are big with this. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they all sell their car stuff with like the pink ribbon, right? And then all of a sudden for Pride Month it pops up too. But they don't follow through with these practices in their actual company values. Adidas is a good example of this. Their website tells us all of these great things that they do, but when, things actually happen, so Kanye West and the whole Balenciaga anti-Semitism and stuff like that, they didn't do anything to support any of the Jewish community. They didn't do anything to give back. And so I think their CSR ends up being really inauthentic when, push comes to shove and a crisis happens. They were like, well, we're just going to back away from this. And so I think that's when they end up being seen as inauthentic, like the towels at whatever hotel, because they're not doing things other than leaving your dirty towels, right? Which makes you feel as a consumer that it's just fake, that they're doing this just to look good when they're not, right? So I think it really depends on if they're silently doing this to create some kind of better place, like Patagonia, versus, other organizations that are telling us all of these great things, but in the end, they're not really doing these great things.
Yep, great point brought up there. And I don't know how many of you, because most of you are slightly younger than I am, remember an organization called Enron?
Yes.
You know about Enron? Enron was known for its colossal donations to charity. Enron had a 67-page code of ethics. I couldn't even write a 67-page code of ethics. I couldn't think of 67 pages of bad things to do. Well, Joe knows I could. But still, they were among the loudest in the room in advertising their social skills. And one more thought from you.
I was gonna piggyback off of what Dr. Richard said, but I was gonna use Target as an example because they rolled back on DEI, seeing that everybody else is pulling back, and I just noticed like a lot of the ads now they're starting to. It's just like, oh, come back. It's just basically, oh, come back. I need you back. Like, you're my consumer. I want you back. But I just feel like now with every company, obviously, it does depend because most of the times they want more sales. Other times they genuinely mean it. So it's very.
Okay, we have coming up a question and answer session, but let me ask a couple more questions. Can I take it a little past 6:30?
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
There's a concept, and I saw this on the, excuse me, I saw this within the material that was handed out, called moral licensing. And I found this very interesting, and I spent 2 hours yesterday researching it because I'm socially responsible as a professor, right? I looked at several studies on it. Briefly to sum this up, I looked at a study from the University of California, Riverside, and the London Business School, and a couple others, and basically, there were studies done where, here was one of them. They gave out assignments that they could easily, to freelance workers, that they could easily monitor to see if the workers cheated. They had a mechanism built in. When they said that, falsely, I guess, when the experimenters said that large percentage of the profits from this would go to charity, they found that more people cheated because they felt licensed by the fact they were doing a good thing, so therefore they, had more justification to dip their beak into it. And there were 2 articles among those that were distributed about this. I'm curious, from this would be right in your bailiwick. What can you tell us about that? Is that for real?
Oh yeah. So think about it's like do you ever see the videos of little kids and the mom gives a snack and tells them they can't touch it? It's like a bowl of goldfish. Don't touch it till I come back, right? Because I will give you this reward. And so, of course, the 3-year-old or 4-year-old, however old the child is, they're going to touch it, right? They're going to do something because it's a reward. But they still want the reward. So when the mom comes back in and says, did you touch it? No, of course not, right? It's the same kind of thing where, because there's a reward thing. But with the same kind of demonstration with when there's more than one child, they always try to make the other child look like they were the innocent in this. And so, because it benefits both of them. And so they're more likely to lie more about not touching it when there's more at stake. And it's the same thing. I want my money to go to charity, right? So if a company tells me, ASPCA is a good one. I want to save all of the dogs, right? But they don't tell me that some of that money is going to the CEO's salary or all of the other costs in it. And it doesn't really matter to me as long as I'm saving the dogs. And so I feel morally justified by giving money, even though I don't know where everything's going, because I'm saving the dogs. And so I think it's a psychological tactic that works well for us as consumers, because we really want to spend where our money is valued for us. And so, sure, cheating to give to might work, right? Because I feel better about not being 100% truthful because it's for the greater good.
Okay. I've got one more question I'll run down, and then we'll get into this. And this is maybe the ultimate question here. All this assumes that we can somehow measure a corporation's doing for good. Do you have any idea when we're discussing social responsibility, how do we measure it? What metrics would you suggest? Don't worry, we got an economist. He'll have all the
I know,
answers,
like, I
okay?
don't know. I just think what's amazing. That's a really good question, and I think that I personally don't have the answer for that. I do know, I mean, I can answer it
My
for
lawyer will
myself.
tell you that's a very good answer. I don't have the answer.
Plead the fifth.
Yeah. I would think just, in giving back, just knowing employee satisfaction too. I think like you said, not forcing your employees to do something that they don't wanna do. My company doesn't tell us we have to do so many volunteer events. I do my role for Spirited Children because that's what I was hired to do, that's what I want to do, that's where my heart is. But all of the extra things, we just recently started an employee, or an associate relief fund. We don't have to give to that, but it's something that we can do so that our associates have a fund if they have a death in the family or their house burns down, there's funding there that they can, apply for. I think that's sort of the measure would be is how satisfied are your employees in what they're doing for the community or how they're giving back.
Plywood on the doors and the windows, because if they're not doing good, then consumers are gonna reject them. And that is the ultimate answer to it. So I think the duty really comes into play that people want, they want good things from corporations. And if they're not getting it, then I'm not gonna patronize them. And so I think but that's not forced upon, at least from any law. Instead, it's forced upon because we have an ethical duty and it's good business. Good business is doing the right thing and doing the ethical thing and still making profits. Profits are not bad.
I like it.
They're a good thing.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I'd say broadly, the metrics fall into the three kind of classic categories: people, planet, and profit. We're really good at measuring profitability and financial sustainability of organizations. The metrics in the other two categories are still under development. Broadly, there's a framework called the Global Reporting Initiative that draws on the 17 global, all of a sudden I forgot, Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs from the United Nations. And those are probably as good a place to start as any, and the SDGs are rooted in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But it's a long way to go before we've got settled metrics for measuring those metrics.
I think incorporating social responsibility can lead to profitability for an organization, and what came to mind was social impact. I think for corporations being able to quantify their giving, or the goodwill, as I often say, that they pour into the community, through numbers, like how many dollars did they give to whatever area they're interested in, whether it's education or environmental, but also qualitative, through storytelling, putting a face to the individuals or the area that they've actually impacted. So I think the word again, social impact, somehow letting their consumers know or see that they've made a difference through their social responsibility with that.
Okay.
So in the field of economics, we actually have a concept that directly relates to well-being called utility, right? And to really quickly answer your question, I'd say the company that provides the most utility is the one that's being the most socially responsible. The fun thing is that utility is not measurable. So not a great metric, but in the world of economics, we do measure something called externalities, right? Which is what is the external effect a company has by producing and selling a product and that product being consumed, right? So you can imagine a company with bad pollution records, they're going to be doing lots of external damages to the people around their factories. And so
social standing. So in our PR case studies class, we often do like a background. So we have to do like a media analysis when we talk about corporations. We did this one case, and it was on a aquarium, and they were keeping like these 30 dolphins in like
Beluga
this.
whales.
Yeah, they were keeping 30 beluga whales in one small tank because the aquarium had gone bankrupt, and they didn't know what to do with the beluga whales, and they were threatening on euthanizing all 30 of them. So when I hear that, and I'm reading all of these articles about how bad this aquarium was, that's my only way of measuring like you were not socially responsible, like as a corporation. Or even if I'm reading like other things about different companies like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Target or whatever it may be, the only way that I'm gonna be able to measure whether or not you're being socially responsible or being good to the community or your employees is through what media is saying about you. And media is iffy because they can say good or bad things. Same thing with like TikTok and trends. But that's the only thing that I'm gonna be able to go off of as a consumer to determine whether or not I want to purchase or use your product.
I think measuring success, it needs to examine if you left the community better than you found it when you went. And are your practices actually sustainable in a way that the community can benefit, right? And so is that people and places in the conversation while still making sure you have profit to keep your business sustainable. There are plenty of businesses that have great CSR, great community, but they can't stay profitable, and so they go under. There was a really good company called Reflect the Brand, and they did crazy amount of initiatives in Jackson, Mississippi during the water crisis, and they went bankrupt. So I think that's how you measure success, if they're doing things that help them.
Thank you. There's a communications, there's a concept called primacy and recency. And the last person who speaks always leaves the greatest impact. So don't feel any pressure. But hit this one out of the park.
I was gonna say social responsibility because that measures the impact of what the company is doing, and if the people are talking about it, maybe the company is doing well, or if they're doing negative.
Okay. All right. Let me, what we're going to do now is we will conclude this and conclude my part, and Dr. Fitzgerald will solicit questions from the audience, and I thank you for your attention, and it's great. One of the things I like about this place is that we can have civil debates, and we can disagree, and sometimes we can even get a little bit mad, which we didn't do tonight, but we are the type of institution where we can have agreement and disagreement and try to come to some sort of learning experience. Too often we're afraid of opinion. I heard somebody say, well, the First Amendment makes it a more dangerous place. Yes, it does make it a more dangerous place. Anybody would have admitted that. People have the right to their opinion, but as Ben Franklin said, people who would sacrifice their basic rights for a little more safety deserve neither. So thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes of time left to take some questions. And you can ask specifically to a panelist. You can ask all the panelists. Yes. Can you stand and speak loudly?